We're back at Disneyland today on this Wednesday afternoon. We're back for another ride on Haunted Mansion Holiday right behind me. And more than just getting another opportunity to capture the experience, the virtual queue experience, to capture the attraction, I have found that it's probably a good idea if we try to answer some questions, because there have been numerous and many questions about this whole operation. For some reason, the virtual queue experience here at Haunted Mansion with this opening has been different and separate from every other ride opening that we've seen in recent times since the virtual queue thing became a thing. Rise of Resistance, that was easier. Rise was easier, it seems, than trying to understand all the nuances behind what's happening here at the Haunted Mansion. So I'm going to take the next little while here to be posted out in front of Haunted Mansion and answer some of those most common questions that we're hearing, as well as take you through this attraction once more, the queue and the ride itself. So without further ado, let me get into the first question. And that is, why July? Halloween in July seems kind of ridiculous, and no doubt that is a true statement. We should not be celebrating Halloween in July. The reason for that, though, is not because Disney's in a hurry to celebrate Halloween, or that they're not interested in respecting whatever certain boundary there might be. It's simply that this attraction has been closed since January. This whole side of the park has been closed, with Splash Mountain next door, and now Critter Country, everything along that corridor is closed. They want to get something open. Now, there's also the fact that they've got other construction projects going around the park. You've got the monorail, the Disneyland Railroad, Pirates of the Caribbean. They can't do any of those projects until they get this attraction open, or people would lose their literal minds. So that's the reason why they're opening in July, because they want to get as much time as possible with guests being able to enjoy a People Eater, one of the most popular legendary attractions in the park. An extra month of it being open is worth, whatever sacredness that you might have over when the Halloween period is supposed to begin. They could wait until August. The season begins on August 23rd. They could have waited until then, but this is just Disney trying to feed this park's demand for an attraction on this side of the park. So follow-up question to that is, why couldn't they open it up as Haunted Mansion? It's the very simple answer to that. It takes 2 weeks for Disney to take down one theme and put up another. So now, it's likely that most of the Haunted Mansion holiday decorations were already up, but they were definitely down out here in the exterior. I've also heard that they did take down some of the decorations. That's necessary, otherwise they don't last, I guess, as well as maybe the built-in stuff. But it takes 2 weeks. So if they were to, let's say, open on July 29th, as they did this season, and have it as Haunted Mansion, proper Haunted Mansion, they could only have it up until 2 weeks prior to August 23rd, which is August 2nd, which makes this attraction eligible to be open as Haunted Mansion, the original Haunted Mansion, for 4 or 5 days. It would be open for 4 or 5 days, then close for 2 more weeks, and then reopen again on August 23rd as Haunted Mansion Holiday. So that's why they chose to open it up as Haunted Mansion Holiday in July instead of regular Haunted Mansion. And to answer that next question, well then why not just wait till August 23rd? It goes back to our first answer, because they wanted to. because they felt pressure and demand to open something up on this side of the park. Next question. Why virtual queue? Why not have standby? Why not? Because it seems like people are missing out. People don't like virtual queue. That's something that we discovered with Rise of the Resistance. People don't like virtual queue. They'd rather be given the chance, the opportunity to go standby, even if it means waiting for 2 or 3 hours, which it wouldn't be the case. It never got that way with Rise. Same thing at Cosmic Rewind over at Epcot. That thing is still on virtual queue, and people are mystified why that is the case. For the most part, people don't like virtual queue, but this has nothing to do with trying to meet demand or anything like that. This attraction doesn't need virtual queue, but it does need to put the guests somewhere, and the queue, this is the reason, the physical queue in which to put guests simply does not exist, or at least, some of it does. The front part of the queue is open, But that's only, you could put maybe, what, 400 people in that queue. The rear queue is closed, and you can't put anybody there, and you also can't have anybody. You've been here before, right? In the Magnolia Park, where the fountain was, they would often, especially during Haunted Mansion Holiday, they would often fill that entire space up with guests as well. So just the queue itself, that the proper Haunted Mansion queue itself is not enough space to house all the guests that will occupy this attraction. Neither is the garden on many days. And there's no place out here, you cannot put 1,000 guests out in this space out here. You can't put 1,000 guests out here. It would block traffic. It would be impossible to organize and keep cool, because you can't put stanchions up here. You'd have to put down tape. And that's, I mean, I've been in tape situations before, and it's very messy. So this is, it's the most logical way to keep guests organized without, and because there would be immense, incredible demand out here in front of this attraction right now. It's the only way to keep people out of this space, to keep this space open and safe for guests to go through here, even though there's no place to go. The backside, Critter Country is closed, there's nowhere for them to go, there's no traffic going through. But be that as it may, it's still very, very difficult. They would occupy every square inch of the walking space here and more. Give you an idea of what I'm talking about. They are using virtual queue, there is no standby, and yet still they have this super long corridor of guests lined up against the wall here. Now imagine this, take this and multiply that by 10, because that's what it would be like to have, I can barely walk through here now, and that's just virtual queue. Imagine 1,000 guests out here or more trying to get in this queue. It would run all over the damn park. Who knows where the back of this queue would be if they tried to put this, if they tried to go standby. And you can't even, like I said, you can't even wrap it around Magnolia Park over there. That is closed as well. They're doing the best they can. All right, virtual queue it is. How do I get one? Well, as it happens, I got into the queue today, the noon distribution, right after our trip to DCA this morning. We were road shopping. I will walk you through what I did this morning. I'm gonna have it right here. So from that main page, the front page of the app, you're gonna click the hamburger icon, scroll down to virtual queues, click that, and it's gonna say join virtual queue. It's a simple thing. It's the next step, but join virtual queue. The next step is any attractions or events that are virtual queue eligible. In this case, Haunted Mansion. If I were to have clicked that DCA button there on the right, you would have seen the virtual queue for World of Color. So the next step here, after seeing that, obviously deciding we're going to get a Haunted Mansion in virtual queue, is you're going to click that Confirm Your Party button. And this is your opportunity now to edit who you want to get the virtual queue for. You have to have a reservation to Disneyland to get a virtual queue for this day. You have to have a reservation for today. And then you can also add anybody else in your traveling party. Let's say you've got a whole family, 4 or 5 people. Any ticket that you want to include in your virtual queue effort needs to be scanned into that app, into your app. In my case, I have just the one, but you'll see a family. You'll go to My Tickets from that same hamburger icon, and you'll see all your tickets there, that have been scanned into your group. Anybody you want included, scan their ticket into your app, and then you can edit that part. You can add people or drop people, depending on your preference. When it finally does hit noon, and you hit the refresh button or pull, when it is noon, it'll turn that button active. Press the join virtual queue button once more, and Bob's your uncle. I'm in group 259. It'll tell you which group you're in and where they are at presently. Presently they are at groups 145 is being admitted, so I've got about 114 groups to enter that queue to go. When I was here this morning, or on Monday morning, it took me 45 minutes to get to group 40, so give or take 45 minutes to an hour for every 40 groups. I'm guessing it'll be my turn in about 3 hours. Getting a virtual queue is pretty easy, in my opinion. It's just stressful, and if you want to get into the morning distribution, you have to be up and ready at 7 a.m. Though I think they lasted both on Monday and today, as I was hearing people report it. The 7 a.m. distribution lasted until about 9 a.m., which is remarkable considering the expected demand. Rise of Resistance was gone in seconds. Cosmic Rewind, Tron, those were gone in seconds. So 9 o'clock, a couple hours is pretty good. Hey, hi guys, how are you? Oh, thank you guys, thank you very much. So as far as that 7 a.m. distribution goes, I still recommend being up and ready at 7 a.m. just so that you can ensure you get an earlier one rather than a later one, obviously, because it's first come, first serve. You do not have to be in the park, answering that question. For the 7 a.m. distribution, you do not have to be in the park. You can do the 7 a.m. distribution from your home, from Starbucks, from your car, wherever. The noon distribution, though, you do have to be in the park. You do have to be in the park, scanned in at least, either one of the two parks. You have to be scanned. Your ticket has to have been scanned to join that noon distribution. Next question, are you able to have more than one? Can you get both the 7 a.m. distribution and the noon distribution? No, you cannot. If you get the 7 a.m., that's it. You get the one virtual queue for that day. If you miss the 7 a.m., then you are eligible to join the noon, but you cannot have both. What you can do, though, you can have a 7 a.m. distribution or noon distribution for Haunted Mansion and World of Color. You can have multiple virtual queues for different experiences, different attractions, even though there are just the two right now. But you can't get more than one virtual queue for Haunted Mansion. When I was here Monday morning, I was surprised to find that they had set up a queue tape on the ground for the virtual queue, and I thought, well, that's interesting because it's a virtual queue, right? And I wondered why that was so, but then I quickly found out why that is so, and it goes towards the conversation of, why don't they have standby? Because they just won't fit. But the reason why you have a actual queue out here for the virtual queue is because everybody shows up with their virtual queue. They distribute a lot of reservations. There are a lot of, because there's only virtual queue. There's no standby. There's no Lightning Lane. That's another question that we're getting here. There's no Genie Plus, Lightning Lane. There's no anything. It's virtual queue only. So they are able to distribute way more virtual queue spots also for an attraction that has tremendous capacity. So they can offer thousands and thousands and thousands of slots for Haunted Mansion, one for every guest in the park, I would imagine. But they have to put them somewhere. So the reason why you have this queue is just to organize the guests, to keep it simpler. Otherwise, they would all flood the entrance right here. They would be all flooded. There would just be a mass of humanity, of people trying to get to the 2 or 3 people with the scanners to scan that virtual queue code, right? The virtual queue reservation. So they run it along this wall right here, but then they send them into the queue to keep them organized and just kind of keep everybody in order so that they don't create a bottleneck here in front of the attraction. And let me take this opportunity to reiterate again, there is no Lightning Lane. If you have Genie Plus, this is not a Genie Plus eligible attraction. There's no Lightning Lane here. There's no paid version, no individual Lightning Lane. What do they call it? Lightning Lane single use, I think now. The only way in to the Haunted Mansion is with the virtual queue. Now that could change if demand reduces or something like that, or if the queue situation changes, which brings me to my next question. How long will this last? How long will guests have to endure, the confusion that is always present with virtual queue? I actually spoke with a family this morning. They were very frustrated. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how. They didn't even know what a virtual queue was. And it's not made apparent by Disney. It's not made apparent enough. They take some measures, but I think there's a certain level of assumption on Disney's part that everybody knows what a virtual queue is and that everybody knows how to get one, which is just not the case. There are folks here who are here for the first time in a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, and they don't have the first idea what a virtual queue is and how that works. So it's very frustrating. I see numerous guests walking up and like, how do I get in a standby? And they have no idea. hopefully, that little demo before answers that, and that answers that question about how you get in there. Virtual queue only, that's it. But how long will guests have to endure virtual queue here at the Haunted Mansion? And the simple answer, the best answer that I can come up with, because I don't know for sure, but I would say that it's going to be this way for at least as long as it takes them to finish the exterior queue. Not the queue out here, out front that is open, but the queue back there, and possibly, most likely even, the new queue where the Magnolia Park was. They have to keep the virtual queue until they have a place, space, square footage to put all the bodies that are going to want to wait and standby. So for however long it takes them to finish Magnolia Park, my guess is that's how long we will have the virtual queue in place here. There will be no standby until they're done building the new standby space. That is the rear space and the new space that we've seen in the concept art from Magnolia Park. When will that be, by the way? When will they be done with whatever's happening behind those walls right there? Nobody knows for sure, but it seems like the going belief, the going prediction is January. We all thought everything was going to be done by August 23rd when Haunted Mansion opened, but obviously that is not the case. However, I was encouraged to see that they were able to. I wasn't expecting the front queue to be done on this past Monday when they opened on July 29th. The fact that they have that completely done is very encouraging, and what we've seen recently over the wall from the Mark Twain suggests that they are making considerable progress towards finishing the rear queue back there and the Magnolia section, Magnolia Park. But there's a lot to do still. They've only just finished installing the elevator, maybe not even having had done that. So it's possible they're still trying to finish the elevator, which, by the way, that was not a question that I had in my initial list of questions that I wanted to answer, but there's a lot of people thinking or asking, why is this even necessary? It's not necessary. They didn't have to do this. Why is Disney ruining the Haunted Mansion such that they are? And the best answer that I can give is that, in my opinion anyway, I mean, none of us are present in the offices at Disney to know for sure what is happening. From the very beginning, when I first heard about this, and the attraction was still open, I asked some cast members, and from the very beginning they said it's for ADA, that they had to build a new elevator. The state is requiring them to build a new elevator for ADA access to be compliant with modern ADA regulations. And I would guess that Disney's been trying to put this off for as long as possible, but they finally got to the point where they had to do it. And that's why they're doing it at what seems like an inopportune time, considering what's happening at Splash Mountain. But the big picture is that they had to do it. And so if they're going to do that, they might as well try to make something nice, make something better if they can. And that's they had to dig up that queue. You can't install a new elevator in the space they did without completely destroying that part of the queue. It's necessary to destroy everything in order to do that. So, which, I mean, that's why they were probably putting it out for as long as possible. I firmly believe that Disney didn't want to do any of this, that they were quite content and quite happy with Haunted Mansion as is, as they are for probably a lot of these attractions. The Matterhorn's another one. If they try to, don't get me started on what would happen if they were forced to redo the Matterhorn, because it would pretty much destroy that side of the park. But I don't believe that they wanted to do any of this. They had to, and so in the process, they're like, I guess we might as well make the best of it. Now, you could probably call me a Disney apologist for that, or saying I'm a blue sky Disney guy, and maybe that's true. I don't know. I just prefer to believe that because it's much more. I find that more fun and enjoyable for my own peace of mind than hating everything. So I'm withholding any of that sort of doubt and disbelief, and I believe that is the reason why. So getting back to that question, when will this be done? It's taking a while. They get the elevator just having been finished or near to it, so they can start actually building up things. January seems to be possible, but it could be sooner than that. It could be sooner than that. It could be September or October, who knows? But we're only going to be able to tell based on what we see, what little we can see from the Mark Twain. But things are improving every week. Every week I look over the Mark Twain or look over the walls here from the Mark Twain. It gets a little bit better every week. But the outside scenario, I think, is January, in time for original Haunted Mansion to return. along the lines of that previous conversation, somewhere behind me is a fountain. They've added a fountain to the exterior queue as you walk in past the threshold. That fountain is actually the fountain that existed once at Magnolia Park. The beautiful fountain that was the centerpiece of that whole area. And that was one of the things that people were, emotional about in losing when they demoed in Magnolia Park. Like, oh, that beautiful fountain and that whole situation was lovely. It's back. That the fountain has been preserved, and it's back in this queue. Although there's no water in it presently, we're not sure if that's going to be a thing or not. But I posted something on Twitter the other day, and I was like, I'm really glad. I'm glad that Disney was able to preserve that and respect it and have it placed in sort of a place of honor here in the queue. And a lot of people were in support of that. They were excited about that. But there was also some like, how can you say that? That's ridiculous. You're being an apologist again. And look what they took from us. They took it from us. We didn't get it back. They took it from us, which I can appreciate. I do understand that point of view. But as I followed up later on, I prefer to approach something like that from a position of embracing what we have instead of worrying about what we've lost. I don't think that I don't like to think in those terms of what we've lost and what we don't have. I like to enjoy what we do have. The reason why it's important that fountain is back is that it was lost. It was gone. That fountain was going to be gone forever. And it was something that people have an emotional feeling about. It's kind of like the Court of Angels in New Orleans Square. Now, mind you, people have more or less gotten over the Court of Angels. It's not really a thing anymore, but it was beautiful, you guys. Court of Angels was beautiful, but that got folded into Club 33, a whole other conversation. The reason why it's a big deal is that Disney thought about it. They respected it. They said, this is a lovely piece. I want to, in the same way that they put the Country Bear Jamborees in Winnie the Pooh's, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and why you see references to Eeyore in the Indiana Jones queue and things of that nature. I mean, it's a question of scale, and there's obviously it's not exactly equivalence, but it's part of a tradition for Disney to do that, to pay homage, to pay respect to what things that have evolved over time. So I choose to respect and embrace the fact that they put that fountain there. And if we're lucky, they'll put water in it, but I'm ready for them. I'm prepared for them not to. It would be okay with me if they did. Just the fact that they preserved it and kept it is what's important to me. All right, I've been talking a mile in a minute. Let's take a break and actually go on Haunted Mansion. My VQ is up. All right, let's see if the queue is being used at the moment. Yeah, it looks like it. It goes up and down in phases. Sometimes it'll be full, other times it'll be completely empty. We're scanning. Okay, I get in the queue first. Oh, look at that, they cut it off. All right.
I mean, I'm letting you slide right now. Honestly, if you finish it, I'll let you in.
And it must be just about as well.
Thank you guys all the way forward and all the way in. Fill up all that dead space, please. Thank you.
What's inside? It's your package with 2 holidays colliding. 'Twas the nightmare before Christmas, and both the house. Not a creature was peaceful, not even the mouse. Your strength could accommodate 1 or 2 more. A Sandy Claus. But Halloween brings Christmas. You might see a few more. holiday was
Magic crystals that sparkle in the post's glow.
I have a special present just for you. Happy holidays, everyone! What's your name? Come on, don't be shy. It's Christmas! What's this? Jolly dear Sandy Claus, I think they have seen present for you. It's all good here. Simple life.
Hurry back. Be sure to bring your Santa Claus sack. I'll be waiting to open my Christmas present. Hurry back. Hurry back.
That's still great. Loved it. All right, where were we? By the way, may I add also with respect to the fountain conversation, people might say, okay, I'll give you the rear queue, fixing the rear queue. They had to demo that whole thing in order for them to build that elevator for the ADA access. Why did they have to destroy Magnolia Park? Now, it's possible that in order to do what they're doing with the elevator required that as well, but also recognize that I think we look at Magnolia Park with a bit of revisionist history at this point, because it's not what it hasn't been what it was supposed to be for a very long time. Magnolia Park is, or was, for all intents and purposes, nothing more than extended queue for the Haunted Mansion. People would talk about how they used to enjoy the fountain, and it was a place to relax. It has been a long time, a very long time since, or it was very rare anyway. There were still occasions in recent memory where the ropes were down. During the holiday season, Halloween and Christmas, that queue or that space was occupied almost always with guests. Full. All the way around, full. The only people who could enjoy the fountain were people who were in the queue. On less busy occasions, early in the morning, or just when the day wasn't that busy, you still couldn't get in there because they had ropes all around. The ropes would block off that whole space. You could not get in there, so you could see the fountain, but only from a distance, and certainly you couldn't appreciate it in the manner in which it was supposed to be appreciated, in the manner that people think back on when they're talking today. They're like, oh, the fountain, Magnolia Park, and I'm like, it hasn't been like that for a long time. So I can imagine Disney making the choice when it came to demoing the rear queue and all that, to saying, you know what, it hasn't been what it's supposed to be for a very long time. It's really pretty much just an extended queue. We might as well make it official. Let's make it actual extended queue for the Haunted Mansion. Formalize what it has become. And in the process, maybe, we don't know, we haven't seen them build it yet, but maybe it could be better. All of the negativity that's going on around that right now, I just wish people could have just a modicum of patience to see what that new space looked like, because there is a very real chance, a very real possibility that it's going to look better than what we've had, because it was kind of modest. That space, I like modest. I have no problem with modest. I love modest. But that space was kind of modest, whereas what's in that concept art, it's really nice. I mean, at least it has the potential to be really nice. One final question and thing to note is the relationship between Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. As you may or may not have heard, it's closed. The day that they reopened, go down to the front here, the day that they reopened Haunted Mansion, they closed Pirates of the Caribbean, and that caused a bit of concern amongst Disney Parks guests. They were not thrilled with that. But I can tell you that this is just a 4-day closure. My guess is by the time you see this, it'll already be reopened again. The closure is paint and polish. We were here on Monday morning, and you can see there's a bunch of guys down there painting. Hi, how are you? painting and fixing up the exterior queue, and I'm sure they're doing more of the same on the inside. But the bigger question, the real question is, how does Haunted Mansion reopening affect Pirates of the Caribbean vis-a-vis its Lightning Lane access? Disney famously said that they're doing this, they're adding Pirates to Genie Plus to Lightning Lane because Haunted Mansion is closed, thus inferring that when Haunted Mansion reopens, they'll take Lightning Lane down from Pirates. Will that happen right away? I do not believe that'll be the case yet. This will probably stay on Lightning Lane Multipass for as long as Haunted Mansion is on virtual queue. So all that's going to happen at the same time in January. When they open up the standby queue, or when they finish the standby queue, then they'll open up standby, and when that happens, that's most likely when they would take Pirates off of Lightning Lane Multipass. I'm getting used to that. Now there is still room, there is still a possibility, there's still a chance that they just don't ever, because that would be a very Disney thing to do. So I'm just setting you up for that. The plan was to open this up when Haunted Mansion has standby back. Pirates will lose its Genie Plus, but there's always a chance that they don't. There you go, guys. I hope that answered at least most of your questions about the Haunted Mansion, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, how it works, all that. But do feel free to ask any questions that didn't get answered in this video. Leave a comment below and I'll try to answer them as best I can. And until next time, guys, if you like this show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Also, join our newsletter. There's a link in the description. Hopefully I remember this time. There's a link in the description to join our newsletter. We give you more of what we're best at. Park science, recon, tips, how to make your days at Disneyland better. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Respect.